What's up, everybody? Welcome to Editor J's Editing Hour. Before we do anything crazy, let's go over some basics. I realize after making some tutorials here that some of you have never used After Effects before. So this tutorial will just be a quick tutorial about how many times I can say tutorial in the same video. What are we up to? 3? Okay, tutorial is at 3. I'll count when I edit this thing. Okay, so first things first, you always want to start a new composition, which you can do here or here. Or actually here. I don't know. Right here. So hit the new composition, comp 1. You can name it. I'm not gonna. 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second. Hit OK. And then you're gonna have this black screen now. This is actually transparent. This button here will show you that you can see through that. This will give you something to work with. The first thing you need to know how to do is to import footage. Here you can right click, import file, or go to file, import file, and just bring in, you know, the band hammer. So there's your picture. Okay, you can do it like that. And bring in you know, some kind of footage. No sneak peeks except for this. So, you know, I'm going to drop it onto a timeline. This is your timeline. So this will just allow you to go through your footage and make cuts and edits and stuff like that. Blink. No sneak peeks for Mystery Monday. Now, it's important to organize your footage. So one thing you can do here is click that folder, it will create a new one, name it footage, or whatever you're going to name it, and then name your footage, Mystery Monday, band hammer, and drop those into the folder, just like that. Now, another thing you can do is say you want to bring all your assets into After Effects, you just click and import the entire folder. And all that stuff will drop in there. See that? Very cool. So renaming things like that. So we're going to bring our Mystery Monday folder and we're just going to call it Mystery Monday or Mr. Mindy. And to do that, you drag the file down, select the file, hit enter on the keyboard, and type stupid things, just like this. Stupid things. And then you have your layers named, and that's very cool. So now we have multiple layers on the timeline. So we're going to talk about layering. Let's add a new text and put it right on top and type a bunch of things. And we're going to scale that sucker up. I'm going to first move the anchor point to the center. If the anchor point is down there like that, it's going to adjust based on where that is. So it's going to seem really wonky, right? It's going up like that. If you bring the anchor point, everything you do is going to do and change from that point. Does that make sense? And we're going to move that to the center of the layer. Change the color of it to white so we can see it. And now you have text. This layer is on top. Now, what happens if I drop it to the bottom? It disappears because it's behind stupid things and Mr. Mundy. Let's bring that back to top. So you always want to make sure whatever you want on top of everything needs to be on top of everything. It's quite simple. Now, I'm going to play this back. Right? Let's say you don't have a fancy computer like I do, or kinda do. You can change the resolution to 1/4 and it will render everything that much faster. Full. I usually stick around full My video card can generally handle that kind of thing. Alright, so now there are a lot of things we can do to animate this text. So let's actually type Mystery Monday. Mystery Monday. And we're going to have this text kind of fly on. So set the position, hit P on the keyboard, move it over off the screen. Set a keyframe. That is what a keyframe is. A keyframe is an area in time that we want to mark. Then we're going to go 1 second and bring it over, and you'll see this motion timeline, motion line here. That means this layer is moving at this point. So, and it's automatically set a new keyframe. So let's hit the end point to be here, and then render that out. You see it come on, and it just kind of stops abruptly like that. It doesn't look very awesome, but it's cool that we have animation, right? So what we can do is highlight this keyframe and hit F9, or right click it, keyframe assistant, select easy ease out or easy ease, and now it just kind of slides into place. Now we can take that one step further to make it really look like it's moving and enable motion blur. As you can see, this echoey circle thing, that's motion blur. So now what you see is a layer that looks like it's actually moving. When you run, you don't run clear. You get blurry. Right? Is that what it is? Or you don't run at all anyway. But think of it this way. If I move my hand across the screen very slow, it's clear. But if I go, whoosh, it's blurry. That's called motion blur. Now you can do this and take this one step further. Let's easy ease both of these and select this little guy right here, the graph editor. Right click the area and go to speed graph, make sure that's checked. Highlight these two things, and you can play around with these little yellow levers and see the layers moving. You are changing the speed and time in which things move. So if we play that back, it more comes in slow and then zips on at the end. You can do that this way too. And now it's a nice fluid motion. And that's what that looks like. Or we can have it speed on and slow down. Very cool. Alright, so there's our animation there. Now I'm going to scale this up. Let's talk about blending modes. So mode, if you don't see that, hit F4 on your keyboard and that should come up. You get a laundry list of modes here. So let's take the band hammer and put it on top. You see this white background. Let's change the mode to screen. And you see what happens is it changes the way the top layer interacts with the layer. So this is normal. So now if you change the track mode to multiply, what did you see happen? The white background disappears and the hammer, it's a little more transparent and takes on some of the properties of the layers behind it. So like, let's say if your band hammer had a black background and you hit screen, the black behind it would totally disappear and the hammer would just be in the scene. Stuff you play around with. That's pretty cool. Let's set that back to normal and put it back behind everything. So now I'm going to show you something called a track mat. So another thing you can play with here is track mats, and what that is the layer below the layer on top takes on the property of the layers below it. So if you set Mystery Monday, what happens here, to an alpha mat, this layer takes on the properties of the layer above it. Set it to inverted. And now we have a cutout. Sorry for all that screaming. I'm currently recording in a warehouse in which we pull the toenails off of pigs. Okay. Luma mat and Luma mat inverted. That's a very fun tool to play with, especially if you want to say, let's get rid of this hammer and increase the scale of the, not that, but this. You know, you want to see the steel grates behind Mystery Monday. And as it moves in, you can see things blowing up. Of course, the animation doesn't work as well, but, you know, that's alright. Let's set that to no mat. And that's because we messed with the keyframes. But anyway, this isn't a tutorial about actually making anything. It's just a tutorial about the basics. So, now you have these two layers with a bunch of stuff happening and you want to do things to both of them. You can select both and pre-compose them. Name this Precomp, move all attributes, and hit OK. And now you have this one layer. So these are no longer two separate things, text and background. Now they're one whole thing. So if I were to cut a hole in it, let's say a mask, and this is your introduction to masking, you can either just cut a hole in it, like that, hit subtract, or you can, you know, draw your own shape, like this pentahedron secon. That's what I told it. Calls it that subtract. And there you go. Now you got holes in the whole layer. Now if you select both and hit MM, you can now adjust the feather. And again, I've mentioned this before in other videos. Shut this off, those mask lines will disappear and you can see what's going on. You can mask, feather them out so it doesn't make the edges as rough and edges as sharp. It will make them a little smoother. You can change the opacity of the mask. And you can expand and contract. Okay, cool. And that's pretty much it. So, you know, one other thing we can do here is go over how many options we have. So let's go back in here by double clicking it. Delete Mystery Monday. But if you want to do effects to videos, we're not going to get deep into that with this introduction to After Effects, but you got animation presets, tons of folders built in to do. Just drag them out there. That doesn't do anything. But we got some text effects. We got tons of animation effects, transitions, audio effects, distortion, noise and grain, if you want to add noise. We got lightning, lightning, simulation. This is fun. You can add a particle system, 2 particle systems, hair, drizzle, bubbles, snow. Hey, that looks like outside right now. Starburst. Now we have space, shatter. That's pretty cool. We got a shatter effect that shatters the layers that you tell it to blow up. And you got all sorts of different Shape options in here, chevrons, glass. Just want to break a window and not get in trouble for your puzzle pieces, squares and triangles, all sorts of stuff. Stylize, you can do line film, brush strokes, threshold, all sorts of cool stuff. And then there's tons of free plugins out there that you can add, and that'll be done in a separate tutorial how to add plugins. But for now, let's just go over one other thing and edit preferences, general, and this will bring up all your settings. So previews, display, import, output, grids and guides, what you want to do with your disk space. You always want to clean your cache or set it on fire, $100 worth. And then appearance, windows, new projects, autosave, which you definitely want to set to every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you prefer, because listen, things happen all the time. But there is where you can find all your options. And then lastly, we'll talk about a workspace. So this is your workspace, this whole thing. And sometimes, you know, things get broken, things get all over the place, things get all smashed up. You get a workspace, reset, and everything's back to where you want it. And then if you're over here looking for things and you don't find it, come to window and look in this list here, and if it doesn't have a check mark, check it off. You know what I'm saying? And then there it will be. Alright, this has been your quick tip with Editor J of OpenSea Films and editor of MTG Attitude. Check us out on MTG Attitude. Link in the description below. Check out videocopilot.net. Check out everything in the description below when you have a chance, and I'll see you in the next one. If you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And listen, I really appreciate you watching and trying to learn something from me, a train wreck teacher. See ya.